Hi, welcome to Compelling Conversation. This is Dush Ramachandran, and my guest today is Juha Riverhill, who is the author of the new book, The Golden Book of Humanity. And I'm so excited to bring this book to my audience here because it's such a beautiful book and it speaks so well to how we can live our best lives and, get in connection with the divinity within us. It's an absolutely fabulous book and written by a wonderful person. And Juha is a good friend of the show. So welcome, Juha.
Thanks so much, Dash. I'm excited to be here.
Wonderful. So, you've always been interested in this type of a topic in terms of divinity within and so on and so forth, living your best life and so on. So, uh, first of all, let's start with your origin story. How did you get started?
Well, I don't know actually how I got started because all my life I've been I've been living in this in some form, but obviously I had a normal childhood, but well, my imagination was really wide, and I had a good place while I was kid, but then when I was 6 years old, I got bullied, or the bullying started, and it took many years until I was something like 20. I think it was over. But during that time, I had to turn inwards and started to think about something more because I was suffering. Not every day, of course. When we are kids, we are having fun and doing things also. And I had few friends, so no worries. But then the loneliness inside of me started to grow, and I think it somehow developed me and made me stronger and made me understand how much I needed something. And I think that it was the divinity inside of me, the inner light, and something special, you know. And that's how I started. And then obviously I had to go through a lot of um, mental, um, let's say, psychic problems. Not any mental problems like that, but I had to deal with my fear, deal with my bitterness and anger. And
Yeah, and so that experience molded, I mean, that life experience, I mean, all of us at some point or another go through bullying. Either we are, experience bullying in some way. We are either the subject of bullying, which is most of them, and I was bullied
yeah,
as a child as well. And I remember that quite well. Um, I think what happens is uh, people who are, I mean, kids who are more sensitive, who, are more, kind and generous and considerate tend to get bullied more, it seems like.
yeah,
And, obviously the kids who are rough and tumble and don't really think about very much are the ones who are doing the bullying. Um, but
correct.
that informed your growth process within you. So that's wonderful. Is this your first book?
Well, yes, it is my first book, but before that, I wrote a slight little book, and it was like I think it was like my graduation from unconditional love teachings, you know.
Nice.
So, and I've never really published it. It was just for a small group of people, and that was 2009,
Okay.
and 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 many things have changed since. So it was like going through what I had learned, but
Sure.
nothing more.
Sure. So that's a very interesting concept, unconditional love. So let's talk a little bit about it. Now, in the book, you talk about unconditional love and how part of the unconditional love is also loving yourself unconditionally, which is very important because obviously you can't love other people uh, if you don't love yourself. That's one. And the way you present yourself to other people is also conditioned by how much love you have for yourself. If you love yourself and you accept yourself, then you are certainly more lovable. A lot of people see that in you. So that, I mean, you make some really nice points in the book. So for our viewers and listeners, can you can you talk about maybe two or three things that you talk about in the book about um, unconditional love? How does someone, because most people don't know whether they love themselves unconditionally. They think they do, but they really don't. They feel like maybe I'm not that great. I will be great if I do this, if I get this, if I'm richer, if I'm thinner, if I'm taller, or if I have more friends, or if I have a more beautiful wife, then I'm better. Then I'm worthy of love. If I have a better job, if I have more money, or drive a better car, all of these different things. And so talk to us about that. You have some really good viewpoints on that.
Oh, great. That is actually one of my favorite topics because that what you said about those conditionings, there really are conditioning about yourself and others, and then you are dividing yourself from others. And also, we have to remember that we have the law of reflection, and whatever we do, we are sending from our heart all the time the message to the world, and world response. All the people around us, our relatives, our family members, siblings, everybody, and spouses, they're giving us feedback. And that feedback is raw because they don't filter it and they don't know that it's your reflection they are mirroring to you. And that is so exciting about that. And also really important to understand that whatever I'm having a feeling inside of me, whatever I'm reflecting out, it's coming to me from the world. And then when we are talking about maybe three main points, first, we need to love ourselves. And I have heard so many stories about this from my clients. I have judged many clients and going through with them their self esteem and all that. And in self esteem, there's always something, some soft point. And the soft point usually is that people don't love themselves. And then, second thing I have found from there is that people won't forgive to oneself. And there are so many wounds, there are so many points in our lives. You can think about when you think way back in your life, your childhood, your youth, your adultery. You can think about many spots where you got hurted. You got hurted because of your appearance or your color or whatever it is, and it's really uh, something that is coming from us. Like I was bullied for 12 years or something, and I think that it developed me, but it also tried to mirror me something. And that was that I had to start to say to myself, I love myself as I am, and I forgive myself, and I love myself even though I created this and that, because actually what we do here is we are creating our life with our thoughts and what we are saying out. And I was creating word to myself that I'm not loved, I'm not appreciated, I'm not valued, I'm not accepted. And that was those four words actually defines us in a way. And when we are think about those words, they define what kind of a world I'm going to have, what kind of a life I'm going to have. And believe me, when I started to fix that, nobody listened to me. I
Yeah.
didn't. anything to say. I was feeling stupid. And then when I started to say myself and make practice out of it, that I'm loved, I'm appreciated, I'm valued, I'm worth of everything good. Then one day, my working friend came to me and asked, Juha, could you tell me something about this because I'm confused. You are so wise that could you tell me something? And it took me like a thunder that somebody is saying to me that I'm wise,
Yeah.
because nobody before that listened to me. And then it was only about that I changed my attitude to myself, towards myself.
I think that's a really good point you have. Um, the question that comes up is, you say, for example, wounding, right? Where you need to forgive yourself for things that may have happened. You may have acted in a certain way, which might have caused hurt to someone. Um, and, later on when you think about it, you just cannot forgive yourself for it. Or maybe you could have prevented something from happening and you didn't. There's a lot of people that feel a lot of guilt if they're in a situation where perhaps they're in an accident, right? They're in a car accident and the person that was with them, it might be a friend or a relative or a sibling or someone, died in the accident and they survived. So they have this enormous amount of guilt about the fact that they did not die.
Yeah.
Um, and so they can never forgive themselves for that. So the survivor guilt is a real problem. So when you say you need to forgive yourself, that sounds easier said than done, you know? Um, yeah, okay, forgive yourself. How do I do that? Because I have to, these memories, I have to take that with me wherever I go. It's like a bag, it's like a very heavy bag that I'm carrying on my back. So give us a practical way by which you might be able to cast off these wounds. How can you make it right? How can you make it to a point where you can forgive yourself?
Well, then we come one topic in my book, and that is being love, being in your heart, and when you are love, and I don't mean that you are love as a lover or
Sure.
some physical way. I mean that you connect to divine, that you connect to unconditional love, and you are saying to yourself very deeply, deeply in your heart that I am love, I'm in my heart. And then after that, when you are saying that I forgive myself of doing that, doing this, and it doesn't actually matter whatever you've done, you are always forgiven. And that when you remember in your consciousness that I'm forgiven, I've always given another chance. There's no way of us that we are doomed to carry that kind of a burden around. And then one teacher said me maybe 15 years ago that remember that all is forgiven. There's always a second chance, and who can forgive you? He asked, and and everybody were listening really tightly that what he's going to say. He said, only you can forgive to yourself. And when I remember that, that was like new opening to my consciousness of realizing that okay, I am love. So when I'm saying, Juha, I forgive you, it means that I really forgive because it's I'm the only person who can forgive oneself. And this comes into practice when you're thinking about that you have now done something bad, Dash. So if you feel that now your your closest friend is pissed off to you and angry to you and maybe never forgives, But when you are sending to yourself first love that, okay, Dash, I forgive you, it happens. And do you know what is the reflection? The immediate reflection from that is that the person who you have heard it, and you go to that person and say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it, I did wrong," person will automatically say to you, "Don't worry, you are forgiven, my friend." And that is what I've learned in this path, that every time I surrender myself and forgive myself, I've been forgiven. And every time that I've already made a dilemma in my head that, oh, that person must not forgive me because I've done this and that, and that is ego talking. But when you are in your heart and you are love and you forgive yourself, others will as well. That's how you can do it.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That is great. So in the book, so let's talk a little bit about the book. So the book itself, the Golden Book of Humanity, um, what was your objective in writing the book? What was the main message you wanted to get out to the readers?
Well, obviously, the message of unconditional love, that there is such a thing in the world, and it's not just a love that is so many times used. The word love is so many times used wrongly and then wrong wrong impression. And but then I think that the main objective for me was that I wanted to bring the wisdom and the knowledge of inner being. The, you can call it inner sparkle or the divine particle in us, or like somebody can call it inner Christ or whatever it is for you, but it means that we have the divinity inside of us. And that is what I wanted to bring to people and say that, look, we are equal in one thing, all the humanity, that we are divine in our inner being. And I don't mean now only soul or higher self, but I mean the Atman, it's called in Indian way.
Mhm.
And when you are speaking about that, when I started to discover it and when I started to search new information for that, I think that I didn't find the proper answer for that, because I knew that that we have this inner sparkle in us, but I didn't find enough information. So I think that when I started to study that, that became the most important thing for me, to release that book and the core of the book, if you would say so.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a beautiful book. I've got it on Kindle and I'm reading it right now. I've not finished it, but it's a beautiful book. So far, I'm enjoying it very, very much. Um,
Yeah.
so, so the book is available wherever books are sold. It's available on Amazon.com. The book is The Golden Book of Humanity, and it's written by Juha Riverhill. Um, Juha, any final messages for our audience on the book? What should they, when somebody reads the book, what do you expect that they will walk away with? What is the final takeaway from the book?
Well, I think that a good takeaway is to how to live in heart, how to live in a heart consciousness, and also how to be love, how to be love and listen to the inner voice that we all have. And also, one important could be the practices, that how you connect with your inner being and how you can live in your inner divine sparkles consciousness. And that is also the same consciousness as divine has. And also, one thing I would point out is that when you are going through the spiritual path, or you are going through spiritual awakening, which in that book I will show the way to.
Uh-huh.
and the beginning of the path. But then I think one important thing for that is to reach out to higher dimensions, higher consciousness, and that is available to all of us if we are humble to listen. And one thing I'm writing in a book is that listen to divine's will and
Okay.
listen the guidance. You have beautiful guides around you, and there's millions and billions of angels and masters waiting for them to guide you, and you can go for it. You know, it's not just the spiritual teachers or some special people. It's for all of us. It's for you.
That is a wonderful, very empowering message, because it's certainly, most people feel, especially in these times, with COVID and so on, people are locked in, and they're not able to be in touch with their friends or family, uh, other than through telephone calls and Zoom calls and things of that nature.
Yeah.
But that's a very empowering message that there are guides available to help you, and just listen to your inner voice, listen to the divine, listen to the guidance you're getting. You're getting guidance every day, every minute of every day. You're getting guidance. Just pay
Yeah.
attention to that, I think, is your message.
Yeah.
Juha, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. The book again is The Golden Book of Humanity, and it's available on Amazon.com. Juha Riverhill, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Dash. I'm pleasure to be here.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Thank you.